Hello. My first slide is not there, but all right. Let me quickly start with an intro. I'm Prem Thilagar. I'm part of the Qualcomm team right down the road here in Chennai. I'm a product manager out of the Chennai division. So my slides are not as technical as the previous one from Susinda, but I'll definitely make it up with question and answers where we can definitely give more information about other things that we are doing at a technical level, software orchestration stack, how we are integrating OpenClaw today in our stack already, and so on. Okay, I want to start with like one of my favorite analogies here, for a quick comparison of how things are evolving from an edge AI to Wi-Fi integration versus how we perceive or currently use Wi-Fi, or maybe like 10 years ago. Of course, there's quite a bit of improvements already. It's almost akin to like, you getting on the road. The only goal of Wi-Fi has been from getting from point A to point B. And you're pretty much relying on all the traffic that's out there. You're relying on a policeman who's standing there and is able to adjust on a set timer or what he perceives as the traffic and is able to prioritize certain things here and there. But then that's, 20 years ago. With what is evolving right now, imagine if it can be purpose built to understand where a particular traffic is going. The traffic policeman can kind of prioritize things between all the way for an ambulance versus the public transportation versus normal purpose-built cars and things like that. And all along your source to destination, you have multi points where you are having predictable understanding of how the congestion is going to look like. You can steer your path and things like that. So that is where things are going to evolve when it's going towards an edge. And as famously a lot of times used, we are at the smartphone moment for the APs. I think it's already there, and I think edge AI on the gateways is going to push that further, and it's going to accelerate that overall app adoption or skill adoption and things that are getting really, really out there in the AI world. So one of the things that that we have started looking at from silicon vendor perspective is overall the gateways have a lot of things, but they're not, right now not anymore just looked as moving traffic from point A to point B. As a solution, it's been expected to a lot more. It's considered like today, multiple people use it as a normal home assistant. They want it to manage the IoT. It's the security gatekeeper for all your devices internally. So a lot more is expected of the gateway. And that is essentially, bringing us to the point where having things that can logically be processed at the edge at a much faster latency and time-sensitive things that can be helped, things including when it gets a more better understanding of the overall profile of the home, the personalized situation of the devices in the home, things like that will give a multiple set of purpose for and multiple hats for the AP to host itself. And it could essentially evolve into this overall multi-skill manager within the home that is going to be able to reliably bring things across for the needs of that particular home itself. And then, of course, with the edge coming into the home, of course, one is the cost savings itself, when it's like the backend data, the amount that needs to be moved to the cloud back and forth is getting reduced. But also, it plays into the real privacy angle that's out there. You wouldn't believe, like, there's quite a bit of APs in the APAC region, specifically Korea, China, Japan, is being made with a purpose-built AI unit within the home where you get the Google Photos memories, right? People don't want that to go back to the cloud. They literally are saying, I want to dump everything in my local NAS somewhere, and the AI there needs to create me memories, videos, and so on. So things are evolving quite a bit in the case of edge, and there's a lot of purpose in which it can be, kind of effectively made useful. Two things that we as silicon vendors see, is essentially there's two buckets of experience that we're seeing. One, improving the network itself from within the AP. That is your congestion, your app prioritization. It could be classification of the application, device classification, parental controls, whatnot, right? That is essentially a lot of those normal network-related items, which are lightweight models and so on, which we've already sort of in our offerings incorporated. It's available in our platforms. So application identification, very lightweight models. They don't need any specific purpose-built NPU or other things to be done. It can just run CPU with very simplified models itself. And then there's the second personality for the router itself that we are already kind of exploring on how these can be accelerated or made use of with multiple other use cases, which we'll be talking in the upcoming slides. And there we are looking at incorporating something anywhere between 3 TOPS to 100 TOPS level of NPU, either directly in the silicon. The lowest one is actually embedded in our next gen silicon that's coming up with Wi-Fi 8, and actually a standalone plug-in card which goes in as the side card module that we call, which you can actually create pucks and boxes separately to create one unified processing AI box for the home. So that can go up to 100 TOPS, and we have all those offerings and a lot of use cases also, which today we are interacting with our customers and bringing it to life based on that. So some of those which are giving the router a different personality could involve facial recognition towards the security arena of a home. It could be gesture control with and without, the camera involved. Again, of course, the sensing related stuff. Becoming an assistant, LLMs running directly on the agent, LLM running directly on the AP itself. Other things are also there. A lot of things are evolving, and we'll specifically talk about a few cases for both these, and then we'll talk about the capabilities that we have today. So one of the things that's like picking up already in the West and multiple places is essentially security, home security itself. So we are looking at everything that needs to be like information that flows from the camera, a sensor that is on the door. It could be a fingerprint tracker, whatever, right? All of that kind of settling in the gateway because it's already in the middle. It knows the context. It knows the scenery in which the time of the day is happening, and it's expecting a certain set of things, and you can kind of make those functions accelerated in those times. And if you look at it, it's literally in a way that you can combine a Wi-Fi sensing related detection to somebody who's in your front yard. And then once that happens, you could essentially turn on a camera if it's orchestrated that way. And with that, it can run facial recognition to make sure if it's an authorized person to enter your home, your child, or maybe a home help that you've had, versus somebody who's just dropping off the package and you don't want to essentially open up the main door, but you just want to open up the garage door. This level of automation and security related use cases are already getting rolled out, and we are seeing some of these come to really life very soon as well. It is not seen much here, but again in the US and things, there are companies which are generally offering like ADT type securities. They're already incorporating these kind of things into their offerings, and it's like I believe you must have experienced it. And a second use case that we have towards the edge is again around aging and elderly care, where we did have this almost 2 years or 3 years ago already with Wi-Fi 7, even Wi-Fi 6 level stuff. But the amount of sampling that you were able to do on an AP and be able to successfully have that sent to the backend, processed, and bring back to detect things like breathing pace, or fall detection is a normal thing, but I think that's okay. But with the number of cases that are expanding with elderly care, and with this coordination that could now happen with maybe a combined camera or a home assistant that you can use to just like remotely call 911 or the emergency services, even when you're falling down or it automatically happens, that level of cases are activated with this second personality of the router that we're talking about. And this will be enabled by these bigger sidecars that I was talking about, the ones that have the higher tops, something that ranges in the level of 10 to like even 60, 100 tops, right? This one, we specifically are very excited about. We are also prototyping it internally in our R&D to have overall combination of sceneries with Wi-Fi sensing that could be more towards elderly care, and it's able to actually look to the level of their breath detection and keep monitoring a situation live to see if things are going well for them. And then quickly, there are other use cases that are coming up now where we are offloading multimodal clients out there, which necessarily don't need to be doing the AI processing. They need to focus on the battery and other things for the longer things. AR glasses is a perfect example. So we are not taking it all the way back to the cloud, but we're able to actually process a lot of these models right there in the edge itself on the AI, and it's able to kind of interact with an AR VR enabled device, or even maybe just a game that you need to play, which needs more uh, processing of the AI compute. That generally happens. So all of that is today happening, and of course with LLMs becoming way more sophisticated, and even like SLMs being there with the right uh, purpose for the particular domain knowledge, it's getting even more prevalent that the complete interactions are voice oriented, and actions could be simply done in plain skill level things that the OpenClaw or somebody is able to provide today. Okay, so that is essentially overall the other things that we were talking about in terms of the personality of the router, which is giving the peripheral uses, right? But within the overall core networking piece of things, we are having a few pillars that we have actually started putting together, and that is part of our chipset offering as well. The first one, of course, being the quality of service. We have a suite of applications today, which is called Traffic Sense, Application Sense. It's able to quickly actually, within the edge, not really go back to the cloud. It's completely running on the CPU, and our software is done in such a way the stack is able to extensively move the compute between the CPU and the NPU and the GPU. Because one thing with Qualcomm is we are there at multiple places, including if it's a phone or a AR, VR glass, IoT devices, cars, everywhere, right? And across all these, we are using one common SDK to develop the tools that we're developing for the AI deployment on the embedded devices. So there is something called as the AI Hub from Qualcomm, where there is already quantized, compressed models that are available and suitable to be running on these devices, so that the orchestration and the coordination between a client and an AP can easily happen. And we've been making that as one of the foundational things, because when we are coming and trying to compete against a well-established stack like CUDA or other things that are out there, very famous, we need to put in a value proposition there. And that is, if you develop here once on that stack, which is the AI Hub at Qualcomm, you are able to reuse that across multiple classes of embedded devices and clients that you're trying to do. So that is essentially from a QoS perspective. A second angle that we're attacking is actually trying to do anomaly detection. There are two perspectives to that. One is essentially security threats, IoT devices that are behaving badly. But also a second pillar of that is the diagnostics part of it, where we are seeing a client suffering. We are actually doing self-healing related items within the edge itself to see if we can be more proactive to essentially collect more information and see what would be best serving that client which is suffering from those parameters that are out there. And within this is getting kind of now getting, of course, attached to the operational dashboard and the diagnostics that at a higher level, either infrastructure players like enterprise SMB people provide, or to the operators as well to kind of monitor the home. And of course, we are also creating a suite of apps around parental controls, being able to be more within the edge itself, give a little bit more sophisticated voice-based actions, and that will translate into things that are directly taking effect on the API. Like simply you can say, hey, block my kid's iPad from 9 to 10, and it wouldn't even go back to the cloud for voice recognition. It would essentially understand that it's you as a parent talking. It's not your child who's trying to talk and resign the rules set up and stuff like that. So we are having those level of voice recognition, fingerprinting based use cases that could run on the edge, get processed with the AI compute that's there, and not even go back to the cloud. This is all happening just within the home itself. So that is one of the key things to essentially understand. And quickly, I wanted to briefly touch upon a couple of things that we provide in terms of, so one thing I talked was the traffic sense, which is pretty much our QoS. And then this pillar is like the device sense, the app sense. They all kind of make that one QoS pillar a fully functional thing. And we are basically putting this as like in the open, of course, these applications as turnkey, they need to be like kind of, if you want the turnkey from Qualcomm, it ends up being like understanding what you guys are wanting to do. But these are references that are provided. And we are opening up our platform with zero claw. That's one of the major important things that we did. We quickly adapted to what we saw as OpenClaw, bringing in skill writing within the overall Linux framework. And it felt very exciting to us. So we have actually ported Zero Claw, and it's made available on our devices. It's generally something that I don't know if you guys have played with it, but it's like a very, very small framework that's been condensed for embedded devices. There's, of course, Nano Claw, and then Zero Claw is almost another shortened version of that. It's like literally 4 MB running on a device, and you have possibilities opened like crazy with Zero Claw in there. Skill writing is literally now like a 3-line script, and then tying it up to these kind of agents, which can then kind of use that skill and then execute the wishes of your commands through an LLM translation is real time happening now. So literally, if you are getting a router, eventually I believe the OEMs and the people who are putting it in your hands will start writing these skills. The skills could be like a very small action, like, hey, block or approve or, pause the stream, or it essentially would be multiple skills that you can write, right? And intuitively, OpenClaw is plugged into all the tools that are coming in from Linux itself, whether be it, even host APD or configurator to Lemon and things like that. It is essentially getting plugged in as a complete sweep of all the Linux tools. So it becomes very easy for us to essentially give a voice-based intent, and that voice-based intent has a schema mapping of the tools that can be used to support and essentially establish that end voice goal that is coming in from a customer. And if that skill is there, it's eventually just going to be like that, exactly like I said earlier. If you say today, like, hey, for the weekdays, pause my kid's iPad, and that could just literally be a voice command. You probably don't even have to use a phone to start giving that today with famous applications from other AP vendors. It's like a config you need to go turn on and change, right? But it could be an eventual reality where you dynamically change it just with a voice command. Your AP just understands your your speech, converts into natural language processing completely on the edge without any back and forth to the cloud, is able to really look at the agent that's available to do those tasks, see if the skill matches what it can do, and actually establish that for you right on the edge. All of this is possible. And this has become this is becoming more and more relevant. We're seeing a lot of operators asking us, hey, we are seeing heavy costs to the cloud. We want to kind of look at logically what can be kept at the edge. And if it means we have to throw in a few cents here and there to kind of have that capability at the edge, we're happy to do it. And I think this is the eventual reality, a shared execution of something in the edge and the cloud. Of course, I don't think what can be done in the cloud in the terms of learning and things will ever go away, but complete inference is shifting here. And we are offering solutions from the 1 TOPS, which is integrated within the silicon, to up to 100 TOPS that can be a sidecar that can just simply go as an attach. And that is all of these offerings. If you can see, pretty much everything here runs some sort of AI capability inherently in the chip, up to 4 TOPS. Some may or may not have that, but based on the cost point. But integrated within the chip, there's a 4 TOPS capability here. And then if you look at the next slide that I have, which is a more exciting one, that is the sidecar module that we have today. And that has limitless possibilities. It can scale anywhere between the 10 TOPS to the 100 TOPS with different SKU offerings from us. And based on really wherever there are the kind of use cases, it has integrated DDR as well. So that's not going to be a memory issue anymore. And with that, it's an NPU with powerful memory options. It's going to be a very modular fit for the purpose-built use cases that you need to get. And it's fully using all the dev tools offered by Qualcomm. So whatever you do as development here can be leveraged on your cell phone as well, and eventually for any other devices that you contribute. These are some of the developments in our side. And I believe okay. Yeah, that's it. And I see, and that's one thing which we wanted. This synergy that we see is once again exactly like how I started, is a moment where you can see now this is going to be moving towards a very sophisticated traffic control, which can end-to-end figure out if an ambulance is starting from here and needs to reach, I don't know, maybe the very crowded parts of Chennai. It's able to fully figure out the best route, and it's going to keep continuously monitoring how are you best served so that you kind of get the least congested part, and you're able to go all the step of the way. It's not just like looking one signal ahead or something like that. the overall gateway is transforming into a point where the synergies that and the capabilities are going to be like looked up on an end-to-end solution level perspective, and I think it's going to unlock a lot of infinite possibilities. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Prem. There are hands. So, Siddhar, you don't want to ask a question about Edge AI? Well, Shivam gets the mic. If anybody else wants, please put up your hand. Second mic and go to the person who's.
Yeah, so I have just one question. So, are you providing any existing framework tools or APIs to coordinate across the routers? Because, yeah, cloud and this can work together. But if you want to completely move to edge, since Wi-Fi 8 is coming, which coordinated AP solutions. So, one AP having some information about some intelligence.
Yep.
And another AP visibilities this guy does not have. So, any framework that can be built or already there in a SDK so that one intelligence can learn from others' intelligence.
Absolutely. I think a part of the, I mean, it's not specific to Wi-Fi 8 per se, but whatever we're offering here in terms of the tools definitely allow talking between the APs itself if you have multiple APs in your deployment scenario. And we have specific cases, for example, overall, one of the things that for interference avoidance, in an MDU unit, we are actually talking about a channel heat map that everybody coordinates, and there is like some central compute that is usually in these MDU buildings, there's like one settles data center point of a hub, right? So we are looking at offloading it there and having orchestration done at that point of thing. It necessarily wouldn't be on the direct edge, but of course, if it's just a home with 5 mesh nodes, there is a lot of framework and tools that we as Qualcomm provide to kind of have these interactions happen.
Thank you.
And with, again, zero clause, very interesting from the perspective of what I saw. And I believe that will unlock a lot of things here in terms of very quick iterative improvements, even for multi-node cooperation and orchestration.
Thank you.
Get the other mic, please. So, one good thing in having it in Chennai is we could get Prem and some of his colleagues because they're just up the road. So, that's an advantage. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello. Thank you for the presentation. My question is regarding the edge AI.
Yes.
You have mentioned about the zero claw, nano claw, and all.
Yep.
So to know the topology, how it works, because
Could you keep it closer?
hello,
Yeah.
to know the how in AI normal the issue is the memory footprint. So how we are executing this LLM kind of thing? Are we executing in the network in another network? The means in one of the device the LLM will be running and zero claw will be passing the respective.
Great question. So I think I got what you're trying to say. Yes, so the idea is we don't want to have like a 3 billion compute kind of a thing in every AP node. It's going to be cost prohibitive in some ways, right? So what we're looking at is like an Alexa-like device that is sitting in the central home, right? That one unit is what we're calling the AI puck. And it could double as a speaker, but have very strong AI capabilities up to the level of 3 billion parameters or more, maybe a 10 tops engine, looks like very reasonable. And that could be your LLM processor for that one central home. And from there, it could essentially talk to the gateway with a translated LLM that is literal plain English, which OpenClaw or ZeroClaw or NanoClaw can all understand. And post that, they just get translated into commands.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's one more hand. Please get the mic. Last question.
Hello. Hi, myself Anand. So I have two questions basically. I can see in your images your camera is connected to the router, and the AI operation is done in the router also, right? That's where the edge AI is running. Most of the cameras nowadays all AI based, right?
Yes.
So what advantage will be getting? And the
Well-
next question is like, do you have anything in the Dragon Wing sector?
Me where?
On the Dragon Wing products with AGA, do you have anything like specific to Wi-Fi sensing, for example, object detection, or by using the CSI information?
Yes. Okay, so first question is, yeah, it's a fair question. The compute in cameras is there, not debating that at all. But it's again restricted to very like image detection and frame detection kind of things, right? We can definitely go over a little bit more use cases with gestures and things like that tied up with the overall thing. Plus, it even with any dumb camera that is out there today in the market without any AI compute, I don't think people are going to en masse, kind of replace all of that. CCTVs that are like 5, 10 years old don't have the kind of AI compute. Even with those, as long as they're able to get a stream onto the gateway, it can now get it translated into like a overall intelligent detection kind of a mechanism, and those cameras could be made intelligent cameras. So that is the one purpose that's coming in. And from a Wi-Fi sensing perspective, yes, we already have all the CSI data exposed as part of our default offering. It's been the Atheros days onwards. The Ath 10K driver, if you know, was one of the very first ones that was used even with research papers, other people who picked up and did actual products with that. So right now we are already offering in-person detection in the room and a person versus a pet kind of a detection within a room as default offerings, which is developed by our systems team. The framework is available, but it of course needs to be honed by the deployment scenarios, what you're trying to do, and so on. Yes, so the offerings are there in our.
In the interest of time, I think we'll stop there. Prem, you're going to